Thank you for purchasing the King's deck. This has been a long time coming, something Daniel and I have wanted to do for a long time. We just didn't want to do it. We wanted it to be, you know, the right time with the right ideas, the right situations. So a couple years since we kind of introduced the brand, and now we finally have the decks. This is one of them. There's two other variations of it. So I wanted to show you a little bit of the features that we built into this deck. I know like when people say it's not just another deck, it sounds like cheese, but it is kind of the truth. So let's crack this open here. You probably already have yours open. So let's get that cellophane off. Don't you hate when it sticks to you? Okay, so first things first. Originally, we made the box super shiny to be a shiner. So you could do gambling routines, and you could, you know, get a glimpse of whatever card you wanted to off the table. And those ones were super shiny, and they look like this, right? You could blind some. You were driving, you could like hold this up and cause some serious accidents. That's not why we didn't print them. We didn't print these ones because they got destroyed coming off the line at USPC. So we opted with going with the box that was a little more matte. We prefer this one too. It actually feels really smooth. You're holding it right now, so, or it's about to come to your house and arrive, so you'll feel how smooth and nice it is. It's just like, it's like butter. You just want to like shave and then use this instead. Yeah, anyway, so really nice box. So it's not a shiner, but whatever, use a Zippo. So take the cards out, you'll notice they are super smooth. And what's cool about these is they come in stack when you get them. So stack is, for those of you who don't know, it's like a specific order that all the cards are in. And when you've memorized that order, the tricks that you can do are insane. There's some really impressive material you can do when you know the entire order of the deck. So imagine someone said the 7 of diamonds, you would know exactly that's the third card in the deck. If they said the King of diamonds, you'd know that's 26. The King of hearts, that's 35. So when you've memorized every single card in the deck, you know, there's some pretty awesome stuff you can do with it. None of the materials really mine or Daniel's to teach. We have some material with our own personal stacks, but this particular one is the Tamarind stack. So you're gonna have to go do a little bit of extra homework to find more detail on tricks and specifics with regards to that specific stack. So I want to go over a few of the things that you get when you open this deck up. So despite it being in order like it is right now, you will find 4 extra cards. The first card is an Angle Z gimmick. We're going to get into detail with that, teach you a few things to do with it. Second card is a double backer. Very common in all the custom decks these days. However, in my opinion, one of the most useful gaffs you can get. There are 2 Joker cards. We like putting these in people's pockets, which is fun. You can use them for whatever you want. And aside from the deck being in stack and those gimmicks, the deck is also marked on the backs. So now you can read the cards from the backs, and you know the order memorized, the faces without having to look, right out of the box. So it's a pretty valuable tool to have all that right at your disposal, right out of a deck. With regards to the Angle Z card, I would keep that in your wallet and save it for that right time. I wouldn't just perform it for, you know, Johnny Random coming down the street. I would wait until, you know, you had like a potential booking or something like that, or if you don't do gigs, then do it for your cat. Doesn't matter. So those are the cards that come with the King's deck. That is a quick overview. And we're super excited that you guys are on board with this. We've got lots of cool stuff planned, so this isn't the end, it is just the beginning. So let's get into what to do with the deck. All right, what's going on? I'm gonna show you 2 things that you can do with the double backer that comes in your King's deck that I do on almost an everyday basis when I do tricks just about everywhere. So grab your deck, grab the double backer out. Let's hope I have one in here. There it is. All right, so The first thing I do with this is I use it primarily, I always have it ready in the box as an out. So if I mess up a trick or if something happens and everything is going wrong, I always know that I have this ready to go in the box. So first, take it, place it in the box, place the box off to the side, you're good to go. From this point, if anything happens, I'll teach you what to do to use that as a recovery. If nothing happens and you want to use it for an actual trick, this is what I do. And what's great about this is you don't need to learn a pass, you don't need to learn any special cuts or undercuts or anything to get the card back to the top. It's super straightforward, and this is what I typically do. I have someone name a card, so I name a card and they go 2 of hearts. I look through the deck and I go, the 2 of hearts, I don't even know, wouldn't that be crazy if, and I find it, I go through and I find it, so I found it here, but my patter indicates that, wouldn't it be crazy if the only one you named wasn't, that's interesting. Is there a reason you named, I ask some bogus questions, they mean nothing, but the reason I'm asking them is just to kind of continue the pattern, continue the whole thought process of the trick. So I'm going through, wouldn't it be crazy if, I don't know if you've, okay, check this out. So I've got this box here, I don't know if you can hear inside, there's a card, and before I get to that, what I did there was just cut the 2 to the bottom. You can cut it to the bottom, you can cut it to the top, but in that motion of being, it's almost like my thoughts interrupt me and I go, you know what, hang on a second, back to this, and I just cut and leave it on the top. So up to speed, let's just cut it to the middle. You got your box here, you go 2 of hearts, is there a reason you name it 2 of hearts, or is it just a favorite card, or no? Okay, we'll get back to that in a second, but the box, you can hear that there's a card in there, right? So that is how you get the card to the top. You can pass it if you want, you can do whatever you want. That's just what I do because, oddly enough, it fools magicians, because magicians are waiting to see, like, you know, they're waiting to see something happen. So going through it, and then, oh, well, I'll mention too, which is nice, is when you're going through and you find it, get it in the right hand, so it's right here on top of the pile, and break. It's easy when you break. Go through, where is it, 2 of hearts, you find it, and you go, you know what, it's interesting, and those go down. You're good to go. Take out the double backer, show that there's 1 card in the box, and don't turn it over. That's a different trick, literally it is. So there's 1 card in the box, you're gonna get a break above the card in your left hand. You place it down, turn it over, push it off, show the back, and it was the named card inside the box the whole time. So honestly, I probably made it sound more convoluted than it actually is, but getting down to brass tacks, do you know, by the way, it's brass tacks, like T-A-C-K-S, not T-A-X? Mind blown, I know. My wife told me that, and I had to actually Wikipedia it because I didn't believe her. But let's just say you name another card, 10 of clubs. I go through and I go, wow, the 10 of clubs. Is there a reason you chose the 10? Is it because maybe it's a lucky card? Is it, you know, the card that you put on bodies after you murder them? Or is that might have been a bit weird. You know what? Forget about that for a second. In that motion, I cut it back to the top, so we're good. It's there. There's a card inside the box. I don't know if you noticed. It's been here the whole time. I haven't even touched it, but it is. Wow, this is crazy. You said it was completely random. Place it on top, turn it over, boom, 10 of clubs, knock over the table, you're done. That is the first thing you can do with the double backer. Now, when I say you can use it as an out, I really do mean you can use it as an out. Let's say you have the double backer in the box and you're just doing a regular trick and you've no plans to use it. Let's say you snap your fingers, you're doing an ambitious card, it comes back to the top and it's actually not the card. Then you can kind of go into that trick as a recovery. Because that's probably happened to all of us. You do a trick and you turn over the card and you're like, oh my goodness, this actually isn't the right one. What am I going to do? At that point, let's just say their actual card was the 7 of hearts and you go, oh, you know what? I know what happened. Just play it off. Be casual. I know what happened. The 7 that's funny because look at the box, direct attention to it like something's happening to, you know, take all the heat off this. So you know what? I know what happened. Again, break into left and right. 1 card jump to the box, and then you proceed, take the double backer out. At this point, everyone's freaking out because they see the back. You place it on the deck, you turn it over. It's the 7 of hearts. Everyone's happy, and you've recovered. And it probably was a better trick than the first one you were going to do anyway, so you're welcome. Here we go. Number 2. I use it I published this in a book of mine called Burn After Reading at the beginning of the year, and I think it was most people's favorite effect in the book. It was probably my favorite effect. It's really interesting concept because I use the double backer. I don't even know where I just put it. This is awesome. There it is. I use it, like I use the gaff, like I expose it as part of the trick, which is kind of cool because I normally would keep the gaff on top of the box, like on top of the deck in the box. So whenever I take it out, I would leave that one card, but it gets annoying. And then sometimes you shuffle and you don't realize, and I don't know if you've had it happen, but I have, where spectators find a card and they go, oh, what's this? And I go, oh, it's garbage. And I throw it away just because you don't want to you don't have to explain it. Well, it's called a gaff. And anyway. So, doesn't matter where it is in the deck. Just go through and do this. This is exactly what you do. Okay, let's try something out with, okay, that'll work. Just find it. You should be able to find. If you can't find a double backer in a deck, then, you know, you don't deserve a hobby or anything. Take it out, place it face down on the table. We'll get back to that in a second. And same premise as before. I'd like you to name any card. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be a 10. Can be. Don't make it obvious. Not a queen of hearts, ace of spades. Don't name the jokers and be an ass. Okay. Name an actual card. I had a guy name the poker rules card once. Punched him in the face. But this stays right there. You leave it and you say, name a card. 7 of diamonds. Are you kidding me? Are you sure? 7 of diamonds. And that body language suggests that's the 7 of diamonds. Do the same thing. Go through and go, I don't even. I gotta do it again. And if you miss it, it looks good because it looks like you maybe actually missed it the first time and you're like this. Now, hang on a second. So this has been sitting there the whole time. I haven't even touched it. Let's get these out of my... Man, it is sticky in Nevada. Ugh. I haven't touched that the whole time. I want you to turn it over. Go ahead. And right before they turn it over, I go, but you won't be able to, though. I want you to, but it's not going to work. You won't be able to. But go ahead, turn it over. I'm warning you, it's not gonna work. Just do it. Don't do it. Do it, but don't do it. Just do it. Just do it. Do it. I banter back and forth, stop them, start them, stop them, start them. It gets some laughs. Everyone has some fun, but it builds the climax to the point when they turn it over, and it's a double backer, and that gets a huge reaction. You'd be really surprised at the amount of people that are like, "Whoa!" Because when have you ever seen that? Let's just say you're a normal muggle. You're a lay bastard, and you turn this over, and you see it. Like, what happened? Is this a mistake? So it's cool. So turn it over. I want you to turn it over. You can't. You won't be able to. That's a key word. You won't be able to. They turn it over. Yeah, I told you wouldn't be able to. You have the deck in your hand at this point. And I pick it up, and I say, yeah, you won't be able to. I told you. And this guy saw me do it. And just do a top change at any point. I mean, with the top change, it's all situational. It depends who's around you. It depends what's happening. But when people are laughing, they're most disarmed. So you can go like, I told you, you wouldn't be able to. This guy said it. This guy, you could do it. You could literally do the top change like this. This guy said it. That guy said this guy. It doesn't matter. Just talk your way around it. You'll probably begin to learn the more performing you do that your patter and your personality are probably more of a tool in misdirection than what you're actually going to do with your sleights. And you can do I wouldn't recommend, not practicing sleights, but you could probably do some pretty heinous sleights and get away with it if you are entertaining and, you're entertaining your guests, or your people, or whatever, the homeless guy on the street. Anyway, turn it over, explosion. You say, yeah, I told you. All you got to do is turn it over. I mean, it's not difficult. Put it back on the mat. Say, all you had to do is just, I don't know why it's so hard for this guy to do it. I just told him to turn over a playing card, literally top change again and put it back down. You can do this 800 times if you wanted. I wouldn't recommend it. I do it about twice. And at that point, your cleanup's done. It's already out of the deck. So you can give it away. You can leave it out of the deck. You can go on to the rest of your tricks, whatever you want.
So this is one of the gaffs that you get with a King's deck. And it's that Angle Z, Angle Z gaff card. But we just made it into the King's deck. We use a different card, 7 of hearts. There are quite a few different ways of performing this. Pete's got some good ideas. I've got some good ideas and some bad ideas. But I'm going to show you like how I do it and how I love to do it the most. I don't particularly like, and I'm not a fan of performing it from this position, from being a full card. I know there's a lot of positives in it, and a lot of good things come from showing a full card, tearing a corner off, and then seeing it, and then that corner becomes a part of the back of the card. But the way the angle Z is designed is that in their mind they always saw the corner, especially with the gaff card, because even when the corner's not there and I fake it and put it on the back, in their mind it was in my hand, and then when I show it here, that confirms that it was in my hand because they see it again. So for me, I tend to start with the corner ripped. But when it comes to situations that may be on film, or that you really want to give that solid impression and have the most powerful effect, that's probably the best way to do it, with it being a full card. Not my personal choice, but you can start with this in the deck and do a classic force or a slip force or any force which allows them to, or allows you to cover up the back. I would specifically keep it at the bottom and do a gliding slip force, so ask them to touch the back of a card underneath the deck. This slides underneath, so the back card that they touch, I just make sure the 7 is underneath it in the spread, and then when I separate the deck, I just lift it up and they see it here. Now from this position I can put this down, and I'm left with the full card in full sight that they picked. Now I can, if I want to, cover the back up and casually show the back while I'm talking. Very unnecessary, you don't need to do that. So from here, what I'm looking at is this. So I can see the shape of the tear. So I now know that I have to mirror that shape when I'm tearing the back. Now the tear doesn't have to be exactly the same as this, because nobody's gonna cut the card up and inspect whether it really matches, because the whole point of this is the impact moment after you've done the trick. They can go away and cut it up and hold it together and say, hold on a second, that doesn't match. I mean, you know, realistically, they'd have to be an idiot to believe that you actually melted that card into, you know, the rest of the card. It doesn't make sense. So what I'm doing, I look at this and I kind of try and match that mark. And I've done this that many times that I can do it without doing that, but that is a good guide to have it right there. And you have to bear in mind this image shows the index and one full heart, and the tear just meets the heart. So that's a good guiding point, and there's nothing stopping you from looking at the card yourself while you're tearing it. You can look over the top like this, and then you can even go look at the back again to see. But just by judgment, you can tell it's kind of 1/3 along here where you need to start, and about where the sword begins on the back where you need to end, and the rest is round, as long as you don't tear into that heart. But like I said, it's not very important, because what's important is the impact. The people who inspect will probably figure it out, but as long as you had that impact moment. So I'm going to start the tear here, and I do it very openly and very fairly. Now, whichever way I go, forwards or backwards, I have to remember that this image of the torn corner, the tears are kind of on the back of this, right? That might make sense in a second, but the tears are on the back of that round surface. So to match that, I have to tear this corner forward. That way the discrepancy of the layers match. So I tear it forward like this. Now I'm going to look, just for the camera's sake, and match that up. So as long as I just touch the side of the heart, just there, now I know I'm on the right track. I take it down, and on the back, and kind of you can see it's already lining up with the handle of the sword. So that's kind of the guideline, the guiding point. Come forward. At this point I like to leave it to display it, and then tear it off. Now all they see is the corner in this. Now I'm free to do these wherever I want. I can throw them around, I can put them down, just present two pieces. What I like to do if I've got a surface is leave that there, and now I've got a really good opportunity to get rid of this, and not in a very good way, not in a very professional sleight of hand artist kind of way. Especially if I'm at a table, I'll just lap it while I'm picking it up. I'll just kick it off the edge of the table and just leave it on my lap. If you stood up, just do a false kind of a false gesture, a false passover, and keep that in the hand, so it's now in this hand, and this hand can dump it wherever. I do like to keep it like on my body somewhere. I'll get it in my pocket, or if I'm at a table, again I'll just lap it. As long as they believe I still have it and they have seen it there, Now it's in my hand as far as they're concerned, but from my point of view, it's out of the picture. But for anybody who's suspicious that it's not in my hand, I'm going to change that right now when I pick this up and say, look, I'm going to balance the corner on the back of the card, and I come down like this. And I leave my finger on the back a little bit, and I kind of roll it off. And that's because if I really do that, if I really put the corner on the back and press it down, sometimes when you lift your finger it'll stick or it'll move, but if I'm careful it stays where it is. So I want to make it look as realistic as possible, so I put it on the back and I'm careful about how I balance it, and the more I make it feel like I'm trying to balance it, like there's danger of it sliding off, the more they do the same thing when I get to the next step. So I put it on very carefully and I'm holding it like this, and I say just hold the card on the corner. So they now hold it here, and I said don't let the card slide off, and then that's it. For me, now I just let them get to a point of, you know, where the situation is uncomfortable, because I don't say anything. I'll just stand back and either look at the card and then look at them, or just stand back and look at them. Most times I'll just, if it's in a bar, I'll just walk straight up to the bar, just walk away and get a drink and let them figure it out on their own, because eventually after about maximum 10 seconds they will instinctively want to look and inspect first with their eyes, and then they'll see that's, you know, there's something not right about this, and then when they start moving it they'll see that this piece doesn't move, and then they'll just clock on. I know that I never have to say anything. I never have to do any magical bullshit or say, oh look, now it's a part of the card. I know that they'll figure it out for themselves eventually. Now at this point everything's in their hands, my hands are clean, and they can keep it. I never have to touch that again, so that's now theirs, that belongs to them. One line I like to do before I walk away to the bar, once it's in the hand and I say don't let it fall off, I just look at them and say you can keep that, and then I walk away. And now it suggests, that kind of gives them a suggestion to kind of look at it, and they figure it out for themselves. So that's kind of how I do it, but I don't always do the tear, because now I've done the tear, I can either let them keep this or I can use it again, pre-torn. I can do the same thing in the deck with a force, this time this corner to the bottom. I do the same kind of slip force, pull this over. This time when I lift the deck up from this position, I'm going to like really grab the deck with this hand and lift it up like this so you can't see that tear. I'm going to take the rest of this like this, and now I'm going to go straight to this position, and all that time I've hidden the corner. And then from this point I can do it a lot faster than I did with that corner that I had to get rid of, and that's why I love this version so much, because although you start very dirty, at this point I'm the cleanest I could possibly be, regardless of me hiding a corner. As soon as I start doing this and tearing into it to make the noises, and at this point I even get them to hold their hand out and say pinch the corner tight, and when they do that I pull up so that they feel that jolt and it feels like the card's tearing off. Now they're holding this, so I can see this is what they can see, the face of the card, and they're holding the whole gaff, so I tear it off and I stand back. So now this in their hand, I've got this here and this free hand, I take it off of them, hold it down, and then hold it back up and turn it down like this, and leave it there, and then go straight into it. Now I've got nothing to get rid of. So right from that moment where they've selected the card, torn it off, I take it back, put it on, I've got nothing to hide, there's nothing to get rid of. So that's why I love that version more than any other. And once again, because the corner wasn't on to begin with, if I don't let them keep this card, I can reuse that the next time. So yeah, that's kind of my favorite way of doing angle zero. There's a few kind of suggestions for the corner where once you've torn it off, you can actually put it on the back and hold it in place, and then show the back and hold it there. Like this is a tiny bit smaller, so I probably wouldn't do that. And then when you tell them to hold their hand out, you can kind of thumb it off as you give them the card, and they still see the same thing. So there's no real discrepancy, apart from, you've got this, but it doesn't really make a difference. Another way is to have this and then just fake place it on the back, but keep it in this hand. I mean, there are tons of ways of doing it, but my personal advice to you is start with the corner missing, because even though you're starting dirty, you're ending clean. You don't want it the other way around. So that is the Angle Z gaff card for the King's deck. So you already know the King's deck is marked, and we're not going to kind of fully explain the marking system in this video because you're going to get a PDF, you've already got it, which explains in the easiest way what the markings are. It would take a long time for me to go through every single deck on this film, but you know that the top two lines, if an axe is in front of the king, it means something. If the axe is in front of the sword, it means something. If the sword in front of the axe, it means something. So you know that's what to look out for. So it might take you a while to learn the markings. Me and Pete spent a lot of time with this deck, so we know the markings very well. And you know, that's just something you got to get used to with any marked deck. At first, it's difficult. It's like learning a new language. But when you've spent a lot of time with a specific marked deck, you can look at one glimpse and you can tell what card it is. There are tons of things that I want to share with you with a marked deck, but most of it's already published, and you know, out of respect for those people who published it, I'm not going to share those things. But I mean, if you just search in the community for tricks with marked decks, you'll find a lot of good material. I will show you one idea that I absolutely love, and it comes from one thing that I like to do with a stack is pretend I've got an amazing memory. So I'll do some false shuffles, I'll spread the deck out, it's already in mnemonica, and I pretend I'm remembering everything. So I close the deck, and I'll give them the deck, and I'll say, okay, so I'm going to name each card. After I name it, turn it over and then see if I'm right, and I'll go through the whole deck. And one of the common things after that is people who backtrack and say, could you do that again? Or could you do it if I shuffle the cards? And my answer to that with marked decks is, of course I can. So you shuffle, but that took a long time, so instead of doing the whole deck, we'll try something different. So shuffle the cards, I'll memorize everything. So they shuffle the deck, I get them to shuffle all the cards, and then I say, I want you to look at the faces and choose a card while I look away, choose any card, and turn it face up in the deck. So I won't look at what card that is. I say, so choose any card, turn it face down, put it back in the deck, and then keep it there and put the deck down face up. So now there's a face down card in the deck. Now, the good thing about this for me is that when I spread this deck face up, I'm looking at the back of the card. So that removes its identity as far as the spectator is concerned. So how I present this now is, I say, you know, that when I went through the whole deck of memorizing the cards, it took a long time, so I'll do it in a different way. I'll do it reverse. Because I can memorize every single card in the deck, I'll do the same thing, and one's face down. So if I can do that quickly, I'll be able to tell which one's missing because it's face down. So now I spread the deck and spread them out so I can see them, and then I point out and say, look, I can't change that, that's your card, we're going to leave that right there. And I pretend at this point that I'm looking at every other card, but all I've done, I've pushed it forward so that I can see the markings, and I'm reading the back of the card. So I can tell straight away that's a 3 of clubs. So as soon as I've got that 3 of clubs, I can fake the rest. I can intentionally make everybody see that my eyes are there, and then quickly go over this part, and then I close the deck and look away, push it back inside, because I've learned what card it is, and I already know what it is. And then I turn it this way and say, you know, from elimination, I knew every single card in the deck, and I can remember there's a black 3 missing, so your card was a 3 of clubs, and it kind of displays the same kind of memory ability, but that's just one of the ways to use these cards. Another thing quickly is one thing that I feel is fair to share. I can't remember what it's called. You might know the name of this, Luke. So there's a force that you can do where you get them to shuffle the cards, and as soon as they finish shuffling and put the deck down, you look at the markings on the top of the deck. So I kept the 3 of clubs there just for the sake of this. Then I get a pen and I write down the 3 of clubs, and then I say cut the deck anywhere, so they cut it in half, and then I show them, look, I wrote this card, I'll mark it. What's that called when you do that? Like the criss, what's it called? Crisscross force. So now I marked it and I draw the attention to me writing down the 3 of clubs, and then I come back and say, look, you cut the deck directly at the card that I wrote down. That's just another idea, but you know, based on those 2 things and everything else you can find by searching in the magic industry for marked decks is worthwhile. I don't want to share too many things with marked decks, but I think those are a good two places to start from.